Oh boy, where do I even start? Well, we recently just got the Marshal pistol shotgun. It's a shotgun, well, a pistol actually, so soon after Season 5 was released, which is pretty cool to be honest. It looks amazing, it looks sick, and it reminds me of the classic Doom Guy double barrel fun. This video is my ultimate weapon guide for the Marshal pistol shotgun in Warzone, and I gotta say, if you were scared about these things being overpowered, sleep safely knowing it's not even close. And let me emphasize this, it is not even close. You can probably tell where this video is going, but let me start off by giving some objective facts about the gun first before going into my subjective portion of the video, which is going to be at the end. As with my previous video, I showed off damage for the Marshal, which seems to be basically the same as it was. Up close and personal, you can deal roughly 146 points of damage. This means you can two-tap players, but you can never one-shot someone with full plates, or even two plates really, but it's two shots and it has a really fast fire rate and a time to kill of about 250 milliseconds, so it's really not that bad. That's pretty instant. Now, the range continues up until about 7.3 meters. After this initial range, up to about 8.7, you can deal around 130 points of damage. Now hold up, because 130 means you can still two-shot kill, right? And well, you would be right. The Marshal can two-shot players with full armor up to 8.7 meters. I am not exaggerating or lying, it really is 8.7 meters. Now I'll get back to this in a second, so bear with me. If we look at the range attachments, we have two. The extended barrel and the cut down barrel are the only options we have. The extended barrel helps, oh my god, you have to be kidding me. Bullet velocity. Okay, I'm gonna move on before I get triggered from this, but yeah, it doesn't affect range or anything. I checked, there's no extra pellet tightness or anything like that either. The only thing this really has going for it is looks. I mean, it is pretty sexy, I'll give you that. Let's not beat around the bush here. It's straight out of Doom 2016, that's for sure. A good enough reason to run it. But the cut down barrel increases range for some strange reason, and again, bullet velocity. I mean, why? What is going on here? I'm slightly triggered by the choice of attachments here and how they function. But yes, this barrel does in fact help range by about 8%, so your two-shot kill range goes up to about 9.4 meters. Ladies and gentlemen, this is R90 levels of strong before they were nerfed. 9.4 meters is not to be messed with for a pistol shotgun. That is really far for this type of gun. It's amazing. I mean, why do you even need the Akimbo attachment with range like this? Well, I'll tell you why, because consistency is key, and this is where the gun slowly starts to descend into just a paperweight rather than a proper gun. When I tested these guns, I aimed down sights on a non-moving target to truly show the potential of the guns in your hand. I do wall tests to see spread, and as you can see, you have a super tight spread when you're aiming down sights, but not slug tight, but it's pretty close. But if you try to go into a game and get that two-shot kill, it will not work most of the time. The range is amazing, but you will never, ever in your life be able to get it consistently. In fact, it is 10 times worse than the inconsistencies that plague the Hauer and the Model 680. The pellet damage seems to be balanced differently, if I had to guess, than traditional shotguns, which makes sense since it's a pistol. I could be wrong, it's not a primary shotgun of course, but it's done in a way that missing even a slight pellet seems to completely screw your damage. I've watched kill cams and shot from 3 meters away and somehow managed to do 50 or even 20 points of damage at times. It's ridiculous. So what this gun without Akimbo ends up being is just a weird, inconsistent parody of what a double barrel shotgun really should be. It's sad really because that potential is there and I try so hard to make it work, but I just can't. Maybe you guys can make it work better than I can, but it's just frustrating me, so I'd rather use an actual shotgun, I guess. But let's move on to the other things to check out, which are Akimbo and Dragon's Breath. Akimbo apparently will deal less damage, have a wider spread, less range, and less movement speed. While it does have less range, ultimately it seems like it deals the same damage. I was barrel stuffing and I shot with one gun at a time and it dealt basically the same damage as the normal Marshal per shot. The big trade-off is losing your ability to aim down sights, and thus you can't push that range out. And it does seem like it cuts range, but I can't really tell you the exact amount because the spread makes it really difficult to test and it's not really super important. So instead, I'm going to share with you the approximate ranges for a one tap, meaning 2 shots, and a 2 tap or 4 tap where you shoot both triggers twice using 4 shells total. Now with the base Marshal Akimbo, you can shoot each gun once, meaning one trigger pull each gun, and get a kill up to about 2 meters if you're lucky. It'll probably be more like 1.5 if anything because of spread and targets actually moving, yada yada, you know the drill. But the real power is when you just unload both shots from each gun at the same time, which will kill someone on average around 4.5 meters. That's pretty darn short range, and that's if you get good hits with the pellet spread, which is really wide. Luckily, this version is probably the most consistent of all the ways to run it. The single version has range, but still performs so badly that it kind of ruins the whole point of having that decent and good range. Akimbo makes this thing much more consistent, so it's no wonder why you unlock it at level 35, which is the last level of the gun. When you stack that barrel on top of it, that magically helps range. Yeah, it's a shorter barrel. That range goes up to about 5.3-ish meters. Again, that's kind of an approximation here based on the consistent kills I was getting at that range. So the barrel is helpful, but not by too much. The spread is still going to hurt you more than anything, and you do lose some movement speed and sprint speed with both Akimbo and the barrel equipped. Akimbo hurts your movement speed by about 2%, which isn't terrible, but the barrel hurts your sprint speed on top of that. You can always run the Akimbo Marshals with the extended barrel for lack of better attachments, since it doesn't really hurt anything if you want to have your movement speed as fast as possible while still using Akimbo. Also, one neat perk is with Akimbo, you do manage to get a faster reload speed. Normally after 2 shots, it takes about 2.083 seconds to reload completely, or rather the reload add time. With Akimbo, somehow it takes less time and the reload add time is at about 1.43 seconds. That's a lot better actually, so that's a good thing. Now on to Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath reduces the initial pellet damage, but it adds burn damage. The total damage you end up doing is about the same overall. It's close to that 140-ish points of damage, but you just have a burn that takes effect, and that carries damage to it. But with EOD on, you won't be dealing as much damage to base player health, and since the burn takes time to work, you will sometimes just end up barely killing someone with the burn if they're weak enough. You can still 2-tap with it, but it seems to be pretty weak overall. The furthest I could get any 2-shot kills with someone with EOD was around 7 meters with just a single Marshal. Without EOD, it was up to about 8 meters. Now when you run Akimbo Dragon's Breath with the large barrel, which is what most people have been doing, your 2-tap range, meaning the 4-shot potential, is at roughly 4.5 meters against someone with EOD on. Overall, Dragon's Breath is cool, but it's pretty gimmicky, more so than any other shotgun that has it, and on top of that, some games, you don't seem to get a burn damage. I mean, for whatever reason, it might be a bug, you just don't end up doing burn damage. You get that initial burst of damage and then there's no ticks of burn. And then you die once you do and then you get it. And then once you die, sometimes it spawns and it works. I don't know exactly what causes it, but I don't recommend Dragon's Breath regardless because I find it to be annoying and frustrating when you do make it work and then just end up kill trading anyway. Now for my overall best class setups, I'm going to recommend 2. The best overall and then the best version for the single Marshal. The best overall is basically just Akimbo with the sawed-off barrel. That's it, there's really nothing else needed to say about it. Pretty simple class, not much else to go over that I haven't really said, honestly. Then for the single version, just use that sawed-off barrel and that's it. Don't bother using anything else. The other barrel, the really long one, is really just for looks because bullet velocity, why do you need it for a shotgun? You can always use it with Akimbo to keep sprint speed a bit higher, but overall, Raven kind of dropped the pooch on this one. I mean, bullet velocity, I would love to know the reason. Maybe I'm missing something and it's secretly amazing to boost for shotguns. I don't know, but right now, my thoughts on this gun, is it broken? Is it overpowered? Is it annoying? No, not at all. They actually surprised a lot of people because they scared everyone to death with dual wield and Dragon's Breath in the same sentence, but these things are pretty lackluster, and as a secondary, you are 1,000 times better with literally anything else if you want to be competitive. These things are inconsistent and more of a gimmick gun than anything, which pains me to say. They look so good, and we finally have a side-by-side shotgun that we can dual wield. Unfortunately, Raven put it in the pistol category, which is severely limiting the potential for good balancing. I would suggest moving it to the shotgun category, make it a primary, and make it so that the larger barrel gives you more range instead and a much tighter hip spread or something like that, and then maybe making Akimbo move 4% slower instead, but is consistent up to about 5 meters. Something like this. It's just off the top of my head. Now, I appreciate the new gun and trying to be different, I really do, but when these guns fall flat, you basically just have paperweights that don't mix up the game at all, and they ended up just getting used for a day, and that's it. And that's exactly what we have here. Are they fun? Yeah, they can be. Are they practical? No, you're probably better off with a Psychov or a Renetti type of pistol because of how close you have to be to make these things work. And that is just about going to do it for this video on the Marshal in Warzone. I may go check it out in Cold War, but Cold War has been pretty boring and bad to me lately, so I'll see if I want to get back on soon. I might do a guide for that. But let me know down below, what are your thoughts on the Marshal in Warzone? Are you actually loving this gun quite a bit? Am I just kind of crazy and it's actually really good? Or are you like me and think it's really, really underwhelming and could maybe even use a buff? But with all that being said, I want to see you guys in the next video.